Welcome back to the Stigma podcast. I am your host, Stephen Hayes, and today we are going to figure out what RuPaul's Drag Race, Cody Rigsby's Britney Spears ride, and group meditation have to do with each other. We are speaking with Ali Abramovitz, founder of Chorus Meditation, about her solution that she's brought to market recently that's growing like wildfire, and it's bringing people together to make meditation more of a social group activity. And she's going to explain to us why and how and the benefits of that. So without further ado, I'm excited to share this conversation with you. Ali, thank you so much for being here today and talking with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I love getting to talk about this stuff, and it's an honor to be here with you.
Awesome. So I'd love to have you start by sharing with our audience a little bit about your story and how you found your way into building a startup in the mental health space.
Yeah, it's so funny. I often feel like for entrepreneurs or people who start companies, there's kind of two paths. Like one, they either always knew that they wanted to start a company of sorts, and then they sort of try and find an idea that they want to work on. And then the second is maybe they didn't quite always think they'd start a company, but there's just a certain area that they're incredibly passionate about. It's almost like it found them. And it's definitely the latter for me. So before I'm the CEO of Chorus Meditation, and before Chorus, I worked at Twilio, which is a tech company here in San Francisco, where I did a mix of business and product. And before that, I was an investor at a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund called Silver Point Capital in Greenwich, Connecticut, when I was living in New York. So not exactly like the kind of typical background you would expect for someone starting a meditation company, but I think that really plays in like perfectly to why Chorus is very different than a lot of other meditation solutions. So we came to Chorus from our own personal experience of developing a meditation practice, and specifically the incredible benefits that can come along with that. You know, things like sleeping back better, being more productive at work, like being way better at communicating with like the loved ones in your life, and more patient. And one of the ways that I often describe it is it generally just allows what I consider to be my best self to come through like a way higher percentage of the time. So that was sort of like the positive side. But the negative side is that developing a meditation practice is really hard. And it's really hard for a couple of reasons. It takes a very long time to start feeling the effects show up in your life. So in my experience, my co-founder's experience, it took us, a minimum of 30 days, if not longer, to start really feeling any different. And so when I kind of had this personal experience of having meditation really change my life, I kind of got to like that day, 45 or whatnot, and was like, wow, like, why don't more people do this? And then I kind of had to look back at my own experience and realize that, in fact, I had tried meditating in the past, like years before this, and had just, had a really hard time sitting still and been like, okay, I've read some of the books. I believe it works, but I guess it just doesn't work for me. But because when I tried it the second time, I was going through a period of personal challenge myself. My father was in the hospital and I was recovering from knee surgery. And the way that I had previously dealt with my sort of stress or whatnot in the past was by just going for a run or working out. But because I didn't have that available to me when I was recovering from ACL surgery, and I was, really stressed about my dad and having a lot of anxiety about would he be okay, I stuck with meditating. I sort of just like gripped my teeth through the first month of almost that feeling of like crawling out of your skin where you can't sit still. And when I did push through, it was totally life-changing. And so the sort of idea for Chorus was, is there a way that we can help people reap the benefits of meditation and really start developing their own mindfulness practice through like an onboarding experience that isn't quite so hard and doesn't kind of take, gritting your teeth and sticking with something 30 days to feel the effects? Because most people, understandably, like the common thought is like, oh, it's not working, I'm doing it wrong. And so they give up before they really get to that aha moment, which could, radically improve their lives. And our sort of big lofty goal with Chorus is like, the more people who have a mindfulness practice, like the better the world is. So we really want to help sort of ease that on-ramp for people.
Yeah, I really resonate with the comment you made about it doesn't work for me. So I went to rehab in 2018. And prior to that, I had never meditated. I had never thought about it. I thought it sounded dumb. And when I was in treatment for addiction, I had the chance to try it. And I remember, after trying it a few times thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then they plugged my head up to this machine where they could measure brain waves, and they showed me my just regular state of my nervous system versus after I do some breathing exercises, what my nervous system looks like. And it's amazing what meditation can do to change the physiology in your body, in your brain. I mean, it's incredible. And I'm with you. I don't understand why more people don't get it. So I think that's what's amazing about what you're doing is you're helping people get over that. It doesn't work for me, or I don't want to do it, or is this legit? Is this silly, or is this woo-woo? Like I think that's huge. I don't think any of the other meditation solutions out there really do that very well.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the idea. And you're touching on a couple of really awesome points there. I mean, so first, just to sort of like state what chorus is so people kind of understand the differences. So a common roadblocks with traditional meditation is that it takes a very long time to start feeling the effects. So most people think it's not working. And the second is that it can be pretty isolating to do something that's challenging like that alone. And so what we've done with Chorus is we've combined different styles of mindfulness and meditation into a new method. And one of the things that we use is an active pattern of breathing. And we set that active pattern of breathing to the beat of popular, familiar, really fun music like you would find in a boutique fitness class that you love. And what's really important about that is there's a couple things. So one, these breathing exercises, just like sort of the traditional meditation, date back thousands and thousands of years, like through ancient wisdom, and have really been shown to not only help quiet the mind. I think what you were talking about with a lot of the brain waves is there's been tons of incredible studies about when people are meditating, the part of the brain that's responsible for like mind wandering is much less active. And then when you've become a meditator for a long time, the part of the brain that's responsible for mind wandering is less active overall, even when you're not meditating. And that's really important because the increase in mind wandering is correlated with anxiety and feelings of stress and dis-ease. And then the breathing exercises, they kind of function as two things. So one, they give you a more concrete object to hold your attention on when you're meditating. And so when you're meditating, what you're learning to do is hold your attention on an object of focus. And when your mind wanders away from that object, you bring it back. And a breathing exercise is a much more concrete object to follow if you're following a specific pattern than just sort of sitting there sort of gently, sort of letting your thoughts come and go. That can be a lot harder for newcomers. And with the breathing exercises as well, it has a ton of nervous system health benefits, like you were starting to allude to as well, in terms of your actual physical health, your nervous system being able to more effectively shift into intense states, which can help with like focus and productivity, and then more effectively shift into the relaxation state. And so in Chorus, we combine both these breathing exercises as well as more traditional forms of meditation to get both like objects that are easier to hold your attention on and also can have those nervous system health benefits as well. And so Chorus, the breathing exercises are set to the beat of really fun music. And so it kind of helps shift meditation away from this feeling when, especially as you're getting started, to like, oh, like I should do it. It's good for me. Like it's this like kind of chore I need to like, mark off my list for the day because everyone tells me it's good and everyone tells me it'll help, but they also tell me to eat my vegetables and eat kale. And I want to eat like a lot of other things besides that. And so one of our big theories for Chorus is like, if it constantly feels like a chore, we are so busy in our modern lives. We have so much competing for our attention that understandably, 10 times out of 10, you're going to lose that battle for something that's really healthy for you if you don't actively enjoy it. So the breathing exercises set to the beat of music is a real way to help it be kind of fun. And the other aspect of the class is that it's a group class. And so you really have that sense of social connection, both to the other class participants, as well as our incredibly like warm and personal teachers, which really help you feel not as alone, which obviously during a pandemic is even more important. And so the mix of the breathing with the group class, with the music, it all sort of ties in together into we say that it's as Chorus is as good for you as eating your vegetables, but feels like eating a cupcake.
I really love it. And I love the music aspect. It kind of reminds me of Peloton in a way. Is that a fair comparison?
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of what we kind of try and like context that for people. We're like, hey, like you use your Peloton, every day to take care of your body. You should use Chorus every day to take care of your mind. I think we're living at a time where people are really waking up to the fact that we can take care of our minds in the same way that we take care of our bodies with our physical health. And that, in fact, to be healthy overall, you have to take care of your mind. And so exactly, I think Peloton did an incredible job of taking that, fun experience of boutique fitness into the home. And we're trying to do that for the mind.
Yeah, sometimes I really don't want to ride my bike in my home office for 20 minutes, but then I really want to listen to the Cody Rigsby Britney Spears ride. So I end up working out because I just
Exactly.
like him.
Exactly. And then once you finish, you feel so great. You're so proud of yourself. And I'm also a Peloton user. And one of the instructors I really love is like, one of her lines is never easy, always worth it. And I just I say that to myself all the time.
Yeah. So Cody with Britney Spears and Kendall with Metallica. Those are my two rides.
That's amazing.
So it's cool about the group component too. I feel like not a lot of people think of meditation as a group exercise. So how did that idea come to be?
Yeah, it's so funny. So originally when we were starting Chorus, we kind of thought we were just sort of setting out to build an easier meditation experience. Like, okay, like if we do the breathing exercises with the music, it'll be more concrete to hold your mind on. It'll be more fun because you have the music. So we'll be able to help more people like us because it won't be so hard and it'll be fun. So that's kind of how we started. And one of my co-founders is a woman named MK. Before Chorus, she was one of the top SoulCycle instructors in the whole world. And one of the big conversations we had is we were like, you know what? SoulCycle was the first of its kind to do this for the body. They took working out from it feeling like a chore to being something that you actively looked forward to and you did with your friends. So we decided, if we could apply similar principles to the mind, we'd really be able to help millions of people. And so from the get-go, part of making it enjoyable to us was making it social. Because, we as humans, another massive part of mental health is social connection. I mean, loneliness is a huge problem, not just in the pandemic, but even before. And, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, us as humans, we're hardwired to need social connection. And so the group aspect was a really important part for us from the beginning about making it something that you could do with your tribe. And what surprised us even kind of further from beyond that idea. So we're like, okay, it'll be a social experience. You'll go to it with your friends and that'll make it fun. Or you'll do it with your friends when you're not living in the same place. You can screen share and take class together. That'll make it fun. But what we learned as we were starting, when we were running some of our initial pilot classes in San Francisco, was that not only did people come with their friends, but going through the Chorus method and the class, it's a very shared experience and it's a very unusual experience. And so going through that shared experience with other people opens you up to connect with other people who went through that shared experience as well, not just the friends that you came with. And what we were astounded by was in our sort of early pilot classes, because it was always really critical to us that we were building an experience that worked for people. We're practitioners of traditional meditation. Traditional meditation has changed our lives. And so we wanted to make sure that our customers were sort of reporting the same sort of changes in their behavior and thinking patterns. And so we spent a year working on the sort of experience in the class itself. And when we were doing that, these groups of strangers after the class would sort of break out into these small groups and stay after class and talk with one another about what they just went through. One story that was just incredible and so illustrative of what we would see all the time is, so we're running these classes and we're kind of closing down the room where we did them. And there's still these two people just standing in a corner talking. So I went over to introduce myself and say hi. And they kind of opened up to me about what they had been talking about. And one of them had never meditated before and was talking to the other person about how different that felt and how much he could see that helping him. And the other person was staying there and saying, I know it's life-changing, stick with it. You can do it. Here's my number. If you ever want to talk, just text me and we can come to class together next week. Honestly, I think there's so much to that. And I actually take a lot of inspiration from the sharing circles of the anonymous programs, from some experience with family members who've struggled. And something that's so powerful about that is just knowing that you're not alone. And what is so incredible for this is really all it is the power of shared experience. You go through this together, you're bonded, you now want to connect with people in a way that you didn't want to at the beginning of class. And so from the outset, it became very clear to us that this was a really critical part. So, we kind of thought we were just sort of creating a new way to meditate. But what we really learned is we're actually creating a new way for people to connect better with themselves and thus connect better with the people in their lives. And that is something that's really missing in our world today.
I love that. Actually, I don't know about you, but I watch RuPaul's Drag Race, and at the end, RuPaul always says, "How can you love somebody else if you don't love yourself?" I mean, I know that's kind of funny, haha, it's RuPaul, but like for real though, that's the truth. Okay, if you can't connect with yourself, you can't connect with other humans, and we have to have connection.
RuPaul's brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And I think it's so accurate because when people sort of ask us, okay, how would you describe the problem you're solving? And I would say at its foundation, the problem that we're solving is stress. And that's critical because when you are stressed, it's like you have this wall of sort of like armor, or like even if you don't want the armor, it's kind of preventing you from connecting with what's going on with yourself. And once you sort of remove that and you can get more in touch with what's going on with yourself, you then like build that muscle of like being aware and in touch and like sensing what's going on with other people too. And once you can be more in touch with other people, your interactions are so much more fulfilling. You don't feel like you're sort of like, sometimes I used to feel in a conversation like the two parties were just sort of playing ping pong. Like one person would say one thing and then the other person would like ping pong something back. And something that I've felt since becoming having a regular meditation practice is it's no longer this like ping pong type conversation. It's like you receive the ball, you kind of internalize what they're saying, you think about it, and then you can actually respond, as opposed to just sort of like reactions being sort of batted back and forth. And that more sort of like in touch, like response type of conversation is much, much, much more fulfilling.
Yeah, I feel like it puts you in a position where you can be more vulnerable and more authentic because you're more comfortable with yourself. And when you do that, it brings it out of people around you. And so you're right. Yeah, you have these much more enriched, much better, I don't know the right way to say it, but you have these incredible human interactions with people. And, it's great for the nervous system and it's great for your overall health.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you brought up the nervous system a couple times, which there's so much incredible research coming out now on when you do things like, engage in social interactions or meditate or do these breathing exercises, instead of being sort of stuck as we often are in modern life in this sort of kind of always stressed state, which is sort of like your nervous system sort of bubbling in the middle. And it's not really ever so stressed that you could like run away from a tiger, or so relaxed that you're actually sort of like calm and can sleep well. By doing these sort of things that we're talking about, you actually sort of can like jumpstart your nervous system and actually make it more effectively be able to either perform at its highest level if you're going into a really intense meeting, and then more effectively like relax and like connect with your husband at night.
Yeah, that's amazing. So it sounds like you were doing group in person, and that must have been before the pandemic. So how has the group dynamic changed in light of, how we've had to adapt to the global pandemic that we've been dealing with for the last over a year now?
We were really concerned about that when it first happened. So our sort of initial vision for Chorus was to be almost the, Soul Cycle meets Peloton for the mind. And we were planning to start with in-person experiences because we thought that would provide the most immersive first experience and allow people to sort of open up and try this in the best way. What we've learned since COVID happened, and we basically just like flipped that plan and we're like, okay, we'll start with digital, we'll revisit in person in the future if it might make sense, is that I think one of the really interesting things, and I think great for the accessibility of mental health solutions, is that following COVID, people are fundamentally way more willing to try these kind of new experiences for the first time digitally. Because so much of our world has shifted that way, the on-ramp to trying these new experiences just looks very different than it did a year and a half ago. And so I think that people's sort of appetite and willingness to try these sort of group things over a screen is really quite different. And something that we tried really hard at is to make it still feel like you're in a room. And that's something that our customers tell us all the time is like, oh, I forget that I'm, on a Zoom, or I forget that I'm on my laptop. And it's the first social connection I've had, all week or all day. And that feels really good. And so something that's been kind of amazing for us to see is in some ways the at-home experience is even superior because you can have like the privacy of when you're meditating by yourself in your room or whatnot. But then when the meditation is over, and you sort of open your eyes and come back to the group, then you can be together. So it's almost like the best of both worlds where you can be in a group of people sharing this experience, feeling connected over thousands of miles of distance, which is a really powerful feeling. But at the same time, you can have the privacy to have your own experience if you are going through something a bit like deeper during one of the classes.
And how would you describe that user experience or the user interface? Is it kind of Zoom-like? Is it a laptop? Is it mobile? What is it look and feel like when you're using it?
Well, I'm very excited to say that the answer today will be very different than the answer in about 2 weeks. So right now it is a web interface. You go to our website, which is chorusmeditation.com. And for anyone listening who wants to try this, we'd love to have you experience it. We have a free 2-week trial, so you can get everything you need on that website. But you book a live class, or with the trial, you also have access to our on-demand recordings. And so for the live class, when the class starts, you have a calendar invite that has the Zoom link, and you tune in, and you're greeted by a teacher who is sort of like the master of ceremony. And they, welcome people they know by name. They get you set up. They tell you what to expect. The teachers all have like professional audio equipment behind the scenes, so the sound is very immersive. Then you engage in the meditation session, and then at the end, you kind of sit back up and open your eyes. And then there's a group session at the end where you can talk and explain what came up for you, or ask questions, or share about how chorus is impacting your life outside of class, that sort of thing. And then for the recorded sessions, you log into the member portal online. You can log in either from your phone or your laptop, and you can take a recorded class anytime you want.
Seems like it could be a solution for Zoom fatigue. Like if I have calls all day on Zoom and I start feeling that Zoom fatigue that we're all so familiar with now, maybe jumping into a quick chorus session in between calls would reset my emotional reaction to being on the next Zoom call I have to be on.
Absolutely. We've actually designed our classes sort of like fit functionally into people's day. And so we have ones in the morning that are set to energize you. So to like get your day off on the right foot, sort of get your head in the right headspace to start your day. Then we have afternoon ones, which are like exactly like you're saying, to sort of reset or refocus, especially if you're in this like marathon of meetings or whatnot. Especially with the working from home, you can stack things so close together that it can get really draining when you have no break. And so it's a really great reset, and kind of instead of that late afternoon coffee that ends up like keeping me awake, if I do a chorus at like 2 or 3 p.m., then I'm really in a great headspace for the rest of my day. And then we have sort of evening ones that are a really great way to transition from your workday to your personal time at home around like 6, 7 p.m. And then we have ones that are designed for sleep as well that you can take right before you go to bed.
That's incredible. I'm kind of curious, where do you see it going? What's the long-term vision for the platform? And I know that's the venture capitalist in me asking that. And I know you've been answering those questions a lot lately. So where do you see it going in the long run?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on a very great parallel very early on, which is we want to do what Peloton is doing for the body, but we want to do it for the mind. We believe not only that mental health is just as important as physical health, but we argue that it's even more important. It's the foundation on which everything else in your life rests. And so if you don't have that strong mental foundation, then everything else you do, it's kind of like another, venture capital analogy is like kind of like having a leaky bucket. And so we really see this going, we're developing an app right now that'll be out in the next couple weeks. So not only are we planning to have this be an app in the hands of everyone so that they can improve their mental health, but, fundamentally, we are an experience and a community-driven company, and we want to deliver that over the best platforms possible. So right now, that's, video in an app. And in the future, that could be things like VR or things that make it, even more immersive and, sort of like socially connected to engage in these kind of practices when you aren't in the same like physical place as people that are important to you.
So maybe some digital therapeutics, maybe delivering some care down the road. Is that potentially on the product roadmap?
I won't go into too much detail about what kind of content we plan to offer. I think there's a lot of sort of gravity to offering sort of like medical care and whatnot. And I think we'll have to sort of see what makes sense. But I think fundamentally what we want to drive the wave forward on is in the same way that people use their Peloton every day to take care of their body, we want them to use Chorus every day to take care of their mind.
I love it. I'm excited about it. During this interview, I literally went on and signed up. So I'm
wonderful.
Should have done it before, but now I'm finally going to do it. And I'm really excited for what you're building. I'm excited that how it's going to help people, how it's going to engage people that haven't really embraced meditation before, or maybe they tried and they quit. At the end of the day, what would be really cool is if you could get the names of the 100 million people that have downloaded Calm, and most of them quit. So a lot of them are perfect for you.
That's really the hope. It's like, I'm a big Headspace user. I think, Headspace was like my gateway, and it holds a really special place in my heart. And the kind of common "and" phrase. And there's millions of people out there that, haven't been able to develop a practice with traditional methods. And so we are so grateful for the existing solutions out there that have helped get us there. And we want to make that on-ramp easier for tons of people who have struggled with those.
I think the social aspect really helps. I mean, I think about the way I use Peloton. I mean, I'm in the Peloton Dads Facebook group, and I mean, that group blows my phone up all day. I'm not going to miss those guys for an evening or a morning ride anymore. I mean, I've never met any of these people, and they've become like legit friends of mine.
Exactly. I mean, that's a huge thing is kind of two-pronged with the social aspect. One, it's fun because, as I mentioned, we're social creatures and we want that social connection, and that feels good. And two, it really helps to stay accountable. When you do something with a friend or a group, you're way less likely to, bail and not show up. And then, as we know with habits, habits are one of these funny things where the more you do the habit, the more habitual the habit becomes. Sort of a circular thing. So anything you can do to increase that accountability and help you getting there makes it easier to stay there.
Super exciting. I know we're getting close to the end of our time. What should I ask? Based on my own ignorance about meditation and being such a novice at it, I'm probably not asking something obvious. What else should we be talking about when it comes to getting people engaged with mindfulness?
That is a great question. I think the best thing anyone can do for their sort of mental health and as they're sort of getting into this is really commit to a consistent practice. So as with anything, consistency is the key to real change. And while Chorus, we have designed something that helps you feel a physical effect from the very first class because of the breathing pattern that we use. It causes a tingling sensation in your body, which feels very good. So something is working. It's still like physical exercise in that you don't get a six-pack after one exercise. And so come to Chorus or whichever like meditation method works for you. Find something that you enjoy, because the key to sticking with anything consistently is to find something that you enjoy and is satisfying. So build the habit, stick with it consistently. Know that the days that it's harder, that's all just part of it. And with consistency, you'll see the real magic.
Ali, thank you for coming on today. Thank you for building what you're building. Thank you for building in this space. Thank you for helping people with their mental health and their wellness by getting people together to experience meditation in groups and do it in a way that's a lot of fun and engaging. I think it's really going to help a lot of people. And thank you for coming on today and sharing about the business and what you're doing with us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. We're so passionate about sharing the power of mindfulness with more people. And so being able to speak with people like you who really believe in the importance of mental health and or help sharing that with the world is the highlight of our week. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you again, Ali, for being here. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for sharing with our audience. I think a lot of people will explore meditation for the first time because of this. So I'm excited about that. To our listeners, thank you for being here. And please, if you like the content, please hook us up with a subscribe or a like or a review on your podcast platform of choice and share us with a friend. We also want to hear from you, so please do comment on social media. Let us know what you liked, what you want to hear more of, what you disagreed with. You can find us on Twitter at StigmaCast. You can find us on Instagram at Stigma Podcast, and you can email us at info@stigmapodcast.com. Thank you again for being here, and until next time, stay safe, be well, and thank you for your support.